I am a Korean officer who happens to speak good English. So if I say something kooky tonight, just think that it's the Korean in me, okay? No malice intended. I would first like to sincerely thank General Martin for inviting me to speak here as your guest speaker. It took a lot of guts to ask a Korean to be a guest speaker. Now I know it is customary in your culture to have a joke for a speech like this. But guys and gals, I'm really bad at jokes. It's like asking Mr. Spock to make a joke. Peace be with you. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to use this opportunity to tell you what is customary in Korea. And in Korea, the guest speaker minimum should speak for 45 minutes. Why do you think we got rid of guest speakers? Now, tonight I'm going to be a little bit easy on you, and I'm going to speak for only 44 minutes. Now, General Shampoo warned me that he's going to stand up and get out at the 15-minute mark. Now, Bernie, I did not bring my phaser, but I do have a secret weapon, so I dare you not to do that. I really feel honored today because this is the first celebration after the 2nd Infantry Division has become a combined division. Many of you do not know this, but 4 years ago, then 2ID Commander Major General Ed Cardone and I sat in his living room, and one day Ed asked me, "Hey Imba, what do you think about making the 2nd Infantry Division a combined division?" And I said, "Ed, I think it's a great idea." And I cannot express to you how I feel seeing the 2nd Infantry Division become a combined division. I mean, it's something that I feel is really worthwhile for me personally. So let me first congratulate you all on this new start of the U.S.-Iraq Combined Division. The Combined Division concept is an epic event in Korea, not because it is a new concept, but it's because it is a new endeavor. In the past, Western armies have combined units with other Western armies. It is only in Korea that we see a division-level staff combining Western and Eastern cultures, connected and incorporated. This is much easier said than done. Everything must take twice as more time and double and triple the effort. I can only imagine from first-hand experience how difficult that is. But we have a good foundation for success. Let me just highlight a couple of them. First, we have the experience together during the Korean War, and I'm not going to mention that. The second foundation is our experience during the Vietnam War. Many of you young people don't know, but during the Vietnam conflict, Korea sent over 500,000 troops to Vietnam. We were with the Americans for 7.5 years. 5,000 Koreans died during Vietnam. 25,000 bear injuries even to this day. Amongst that conflict, the Americans who gained our greatest respects were the helicopter pilots and the crew of the pilots of the helicopters. If you talk to Korean veterans, they will tell you that they can still hear the prop of the helicopters, the UH-1 Hueys, because these helicopters brought them water and ammunition, as well as take the wounded and the dead bodies of their comrades. And so I think during those experiences, we were able to understand and have a cooperation that was nurtured during those times. And then in Iraq, for 4.5 years, Korea had at least 3,000 men in Erbil. We were there with our American friends. And again, many of you young people don't know this, but we were the third largest contributor to Iraq as well. First was the Americans, second was Blackwater, and then third was... Did not get that joke. I was really worried. And then, most recently, many of you remember Koreans in Afghanistan. We were in Afghanistan for 4.5 years. And then there's something else that I think is a foundation for a success for the combined division. And that is the Chun program, the Korea augmentation to the United States Army. This program has been very successful in incorporating at the tactical level the skills and tactics required to conduct combat. American leaders at every level have acknowledged this program as a huge success. It has benefited the United States as well as the Koreans in many, many ways. The experience and knowledge has been institutionalized and was the basis that gave confidence to the combined division concept. You, ladies and gentlemen, are opening a new frontier. It's not going to be easy, so it must be worthwhile. In the 1970s, Korea's gross national income, which is the average income that everyone makes, was about $600. North Korea at that time was $650. Yes, North Korea lived better than South Korea in 1970. In fact, North Korea lived better than South Korea until 1975. So you can imagine how tough it was in South Korea. Do you think there was a Hyatt hotel? No. Hartel House was the dream restaurant. There was another place called the Soul House, the Soul Club. These American restaurants was a place where Koreans dreamt of going to for a steak dinner. Today's Korea, GNI is about $22,000. And many Koreans believe that you Americans helped us get us here. Now many Americans tell me, oh, Mbop, it was the diligence of the Koreans, It was the hard work of the Koreans that made it happen. Well, that's true. But without Americans, without you, this would never have happened. In 1970, I was 11 years old, and it is the first of my memory that I remember seeing American soldiers. That day I had hiked to Namsan, and during those days there was no Namsan Tower. In fact, there was a little trail that I and my friends used to go up to. That trail now is a paved road which leads to the Namsan Tower. That day I met some U.S. soldiers. They were in their khaki uniforms, and I guess during those days there was no rules about government vehicles because they were in a truck. And and I still remember the Indian head patch on their uniforms. To this day, 40 odd years later, I still have the impressions that these men, I don't remember their faces, I just remember that they were men. But I still remember that they were kind, considerate, and very generous with their chocolate. Then when I became an officer in 1981, the American soldiers that I met were very cordial and professional. They knew their business. Now to you Americans, you might take this for granted. But I've worked with many armies, and I can tell you that probably the Americans are one of the most professional armies in the world. You can't march to step though. But you sure can fight and win a war. As a captain, I had more opportunities to work with Americans, and especially with 2ID. We had tactical level combined training events like Prospect, where a U.S. tank battalion or a U.S. mechanized unit would be in support of a Korean regiment. And, a lot of people thought that U.S. equipment was always better. And they thought that better equipment was the winning hand for the Americans. But there was something more. American soldiers were professional. And I say this again. Americans were professional. They knew their business. They knew their job. They were proud of who they were, and they were kind. Now, in a military setting, the word kind might not be something that you would think, in a military setting, courageous, brave, sacrifice. But let me tell you, kindness is a weapon, is a tool, is a attribute that the Americans have that goes far beyond any other weapon that any other country can ever have. Do you think the Russians can ever have this? Or the Chinese? No. It is a unique asset, an attribute of the Americans. That is why, that if something goes wrong, if the Chinese were to ask for volunteers to go to do something, or the Russians might ask to go to something, countries like Korea aren't going to follow that. But when America asks somebody to do something, many countries follow. Not because of your aircraft carriers and your stealth bombers, but because of your kindness and the trust that you've earned from that kindness. Now, I'm not going to say that my experiences with Americans were 100% picture perfect, but I will say this. Whenever I raised my hand, I got a fair deal. So whenever a Korean or anybody else raises his or her hand, make sure you give them a fair deal. I also have visited Camp Red Cloud many times. The casual nature of the American culture is a foundation for the practical way of how you handle things. Again, Americans can't step or goose step like the Russians or the Chinese or the North Koreans, but you guys sure can win wars. I am really hoping that the Koreans serving in the combined division will be able to appreciate this. It takes a long time. At first glance, Americans seem disorganized. You think, how the hell do they get things done? But the job always gets done, and in most cases, better than your opponents and better than your counterparts. This is something that Koreans really need to understand and need to learn. If you think about it, no war was ever lost by an American soldier. That's my view. At this point, I want to remind you that each of you are representatives of the United States, American Armed Forces, Americans, and 2ID. Every day and every moment, you are a model, an inspiration, and hope to others. How many 11-year-olds and Koreans have you come to meet today? Unknown to you, you have probably made lasting impressions on these people as those soldiers did to me 45 years ago. I am sure you were professional, proud, cordial, and kind. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up and see yourselves in the mirror, remind yourselves that you are Americans and members of 2ID, a part of a long legacy of good men and women who did their job, making great sacrifices for good and for peace. Tonight, we celebrate not only those who are present here today, but those who came before you and especially those who will come after you. Tonight again, we are setting the standards to which many generations will follow. So ladies and gentlemen, congratulations on your anniversary. May you have many, many happy returns, and thank you from one Korean who represents millions of other Koreans for helping us keep peace and freedom in Korea. Without you, the sun would not rise on a free Korean peninsula. I really mean that. If you have ever had a bad day or a moment, just remember this. Every smile that you see in Korea is only possible because of you. 감사합니다. 같이 갑시다. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. When we were thinking what would be appropriate for us to give to General Chun so he might remember this evening together, we did a lot of soul searching. And as General Chun said earlier, a former Warrior 6, Lieutenant General Cardone, I had an encounter with him about 3 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., and he told me, he related that story to me, sir, at Warrior House. You two sketched out the future of the Combined Division. So I knew that what we must do is we must put down, the only way you can get the history locked in is you need to put it in writing, you need to memorialize it. So what we've done tonight, sir, I hope you like this, we have a little something for you. Sorry, man, good? Okay, so it may be difficult to see from the back, and it's a little bit strange, but that's how I operate. Okay, because our division was originally formed from Marine and Army units, we have a naval background, like it or not. And it's not. But given that we have a nautical background, something unique to the Navy is when a ship is commissioned, it's given a commissioning pennant. There may be some Navy veterans here. So commissioning pennant is what you see here. It's been modified. It says 2ID RUCD, ROC US Combined Division. And sir, the patches that you see reflect the change of our patch, which has remained basically unchanged since 1917 until the addition of the ROC Jan Hapsavan patch. So sir, for those of you in the back that can't see the star note, it says, Dear General Chun and Bum, it is a great honor to have you as the guest speaker for the Warrior Division's 98th birthday ball. It is especially poignant that this is the first year that we will celebrate this occasion as the United States Army's first and only combined division. Your role in the formation of the 2nd Infantry Division, ROC US Combined Division, will never be forgotten. Along with Lieutenant General Ed Cardone, you brought the combined division from a good idea to a battle-ready force. The power of the combined division has been proven already during Ulchi Freedom Guardian 15, the August 2015 crisis, and most recently during Warfighter 16-1. In recognition of your pivotal role as the father of the combined division, please accept this commissioning pennant as a memory of our founding and successful launch in support of the ROC US Alliance. The commissioning pennant, usually reserved for naval use, is a reminder that 2nd Division was originally formed from Army and Marine regiments. Second to none. Kachi Kachi Da.